last episode, we kicked off our discussion of whether Jesus really rose from the dead with a look at the first of 4 options to consider. If you missed it, check it out. Maybe watch that episode first. But today, we'll take a look at 2 more options, beginning with the idea that the Jewish or Roman authorities stole the body. The dilemma with this view is one that crime detectives ask all the time. What was the motive for this? As we learned in the last episode, the Roman authorities were the ones who put guards at the tomb to make sure the body wasn't stolen. Their biggest fear was somebody stealing the body. That's public record, and even recorded in the Bible, in Matthew's biography of the life of Jesus, which reads how the high priests and the Pharisees arranged a meeting with Pilate. They said, "Sir, we just remembered that liar announced while he was still alive, 'After 3 days I will be raised.' We've got to get that tomb sealed until the 3rd day. There's a good chance his disciples will come and steal the corpse and then go around saying he's risen from the dead. And then we'll be worse off than before, the final deceit surpassing the first." Pilate told them, "You will have a guard. Go ahead and secure it the best you can." So they went out, secured the tomb, sealing the stone, posting guards. So do you see the motive problem? They understood Christianity to be an incredible threat against both Jewish authority and Roman rule. They had a vested interest in making sure people didn't believe that Jesus rose from the dead. The whole purpose of the crucifixion was to silence Jesus and to demoralize his followers. The last thing they would do is steal the body to make it look like he rose from the dead, which would make him and the Christian movement more believable than ever. They wished they did have the body. They would have paraded it through the streets of Jerusalem saying, "See, just a man. Here's his beat-up, crucified corpse." But they didn't. So, did the Jewish or Roman authorities steal the body? That flies in the face of everything we know. This is also why nobody has ever seriously entertained the idea that the resurrection can be written off as some kind of mass hallucination due to people's grief or emotional stress, or that perhaps they mistook someone else who was alive for the very dead Jesus. Not only would a hallucination or mistaken sighting have to account for every single eyewitness account, but the simple production of a dead body by the Romans would have brought everyone back to reality. This brings us to the 3rd option, which is that the disciples just went to the wrong tomb. This option doesn't attract a lot of attention from people who look carefully at the evidence, but we'll raise it to be thorough. The thinking is that the disciples were nervous, they were worried, they were full of fear. It would have been relatively easy for them to have simply made a mistake by going to the wrong tomb and finding that tomb empty and then assuming that Jesus was alive. The problem with this view is that all the Romans would have had to do was point out the right tomb, where the guards were posted, and the party would have ended. And you still have to deal with all the people who said they saw Jesus after his death, people who were more than willing to go on record, even under threat of death. Consider these words written by the Apostle Paul in his letter to the church in Corinth. He noted that Jesus appeared to Cephas and then to the 12. After that, he appeared to more than 500 of the brothers and sisters at the same time, most of whom are still living. Then he appeared to James, then to all the apostles, and last of all, Paul writes, he appeared to me also. In today's court system, all it takes is 1 or 2 eyewitnesses to begin to determine what happened at a particular point in place and time. There were hundreds of eyewitnesses to Jesus being alive after his crucifixion. And again, all the disciples said they saw him and were willing to die for it. In fact, as we learned in our last episode, they did. So what's the last option? We'll get to that in the next episode.